the three-way ankle balance reach with plate overhead. So let's have a look at this lovely demonstration. So this is a classic when we're working on foot and ankle stability. We're reaching forwards, we're reaching out to the side, and then we're reaching out and around. So we're reaching in all three planes of motion: sagittal, then frontal, then transverse. And the transverse is usually the tricky one. And we're going to go through a few details of how we can get the most out of this exercise. So the key focus points throughout are maintaining the 3 points of contact. So that means the ball of the big toe, the ball of the pinky toe, and the heel. You'll see a lot of people shift forwards and lose heel pressure. So even if the heel's on the floor, we want to actually maintain a good amount of pressure through it. People who seem tight through the ankle and lacking dorsiflexion will typically do this. So teaching them to stay heel heavy will be a big part of getting the most out of this exercise. Secondly, we want to let the knee go wherever it wants, especially on this transverse plane reach. Notice how the knee comes forwards and in slightly, dipping into valgus. This is a good thing, and we want to teach the body that it can access this position to become stable and have a high level of motor control there, which actually protects against injuries that occur in a valgus position. Obviously, this is a nice, safe environment to build up that tissue tolerance in that space, and also good joint mechanics for loading other muscles of the body. The plate overhead. So we do this balance reach in many different ways, many different loading styles. Why might we use plate overhead? So there's three main reasons to do this. Number one, it tightens up the muscles of the body by using up slack. So we are lengthening the lats, lengthening the obliques, lengthening the core musculature, all of which takes slack out of the system. If you think about a rubber band, when you pull on it, that's when it gets tight, and that's when it gives tension and stability. So when working on stability, this aids people in developing that capacity, especially people who tend towards the hypermobile end of the spectrum. The second thing it does is that it forces you to stay upright. So a lot of people doing these sorts of balance reaches will pitch forwards, hinging at the hip or rounding at the back, which is bringing in muscles of the upper body to do more, or the hips to do more. We want this, if the intended training stimulus is foot and ankle stability, we want the work to be done there. So we want to block the body's ability to use other areas. Throwing the arms around is another common compensation to try and use the arms to do that balancing, do that stabilizing. So by going plate overhead, we reduce the options on the table for stabilizing anywhere other than the foot and ankle. The third thing the plate overhead does is obviously adds weight to the movement, and by adding weight we increase the amount of force going through this foot here. So that means there's louder proprioceptive feedback, so all the sensory organs on the foot, in the joints, in the muscles even, will get more information on where your body is organized in space, which accelerates the learning process for creating balance and stability through these movement patterns. This is one of the examples where sometimes, for many people, adding more weight, obviously up to a point, makes the exercise easier because of those three reasons I've just mentioned. So for those people, the way we progress and advance the drill is actually to give them less weight overhead, because they're getting less of that stabilizing help that the weight can give them. Key point for execution is to stay smooth and controlled going on the way out and on the way back. We don't want jerky, wobbly movements. So think of this as a movement quality to aspire to, rather than just mindlessly going forward side, rotating as quickly as you can. You should be able to reverse from any point in the movement. So if I said go halfway and then come back, you should be able to do that as well. So that requires you to develop tension, stability and control through the whole range, rather than just crashing against your end point. This is a phenomenal movement for people who are experiencing knee issues, but anybody who does exercise stood up will also benefit from this. So give it a try in your next warm-up and let me know how you get on.